Hello everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips. And the first thing I want to say is thank you so much for all of you who wrote to me and offered suggestions for how to help Schroeder live a better life and not hate his mommy so much because I'm giving him fluids, and suggestions for treatment. So we're warming the fluids and he seems to like that better, and he seems to be getting used to it too. So I'm sharing this experience because as we all share our experiences taking care of our furry buddies, maybe that helps somebody else who's in the same situation. But he's doing really, really well, and I really want to thank you for your thoughts and for your suggestions and encouragement and everything else. So anyway, moving on to other things. There are a couple of things coming up that you should know about. The first thing is our conference is November 8th through 10. We have an incredible roster of speakers. Tom Seyfried, the author of the cancer textbook, Cancer as a Metabolic Disease, will be here. Saray Stanzik, the producer of Code Blue, is going to be here. We're going to show that film and have a discussion about it. Dr. Peter Bregan, the psychiatrist and activist who has done so much to try to reform the psychiatric profession, one of our business partners, will be here. There will be workshops on pain management with our musculoskeletal health specialist, physical therapist, Eileen Kopsaftis, Gracie Yuen, who owns a fasting center here in Columbus, and a vaccine panel on Sunday afternoon of the conference. Cooking classes, lots of great food, and the price goes up September 1st. That's why I'm telling you about it now, because if you're going to buy a ticket, the earlier you buy it, the less expensive it is. So it's time to make travel arrangements. Make sure you've got a hotel room at Embassy Suites, which is where we're having the conference, and get your ticket bought. Another thing is the next class I'm teaching is the one on the microbiome. We're going to do it boot camp style, Friday night, Saturday afternoon. We do a lot of these this way. People really like it. It's an easier time frame for people to manage. And so if you want to learn more about your amazing microbiome, that's the next class to register for. And then irritable bowel and cannabis, and that'll be it for the new live classes for this year. I have a list of spectacular classes we're going to add next year, so stay tuned and I'll be back to you with a lot of that. A couple things that came up in the answers back and forth and comments on the channel that I look at every week. One is somebody asked me if doctors, oncologists get paid commissions for selling drugs to their patients. It doesn't work quite like that. It's kind of like that, but not just like that. It's called the chemotherapy concession, and it means that oncologists are the only doctors that are allowed to buy drugs wholesale and sell them retail in their offices. So it's not like a commission for sales, it's a markup for the product. The problem that I've always had with it is that it's not disclosed. In other words, if you walk into my building here, we have a store with some of our products, and I'm assuming everybody knows that we make a profit on those products. Like, this isn't a public service that we're offering here. So everybody knows that, right? So I'm only concerned about it to the extent that it's not disclosed, and it might help people understand sometimes why their oncologists are not very encouraging sometimes with alternative treatments. They don't get paid for recommending alternative treatments. They make money when they administer chemotherapy. And there's an article in our Health Briefs library that's referenced. About 65% of an oncologist's income, on average, comes from this chemotherapy concession. Another thing that a lot of you asked about is caffeine in green tea, which there's caffeine in all real tea, not the herbal teas, which aren't teas. These are plant parts that we brew. They're not tea, but we drink them like tea. But in real tea products, there's always caffeine. The darker the color of the tea, the more caffeine is bioavailable. So a black tea, for example, will have a lot more bioavailable caffeine than a bright green tea, which is what our tea is. We also do a lot of things to try to make sure that the nutrient content in the tea that we offer is preserved and the caffeine's not bioavailable. So the leaves are hand-picked and they're dried on screens with air instead of heat and packaged in triple sealed containers, and we ship by air instead of by boat, and you're putting it in a smoothie instead of hot water, and all of these things are designed to keep the very minimum amount of bioavailable caffeine from being ingested, and to preserve the nutrient value, which is what everybody's looking for, is the powerful antioxidant value of tea. So if you're interested in talking to us about smoothie ingredients, I made my smoothie breakfast on a video a couple weeks ago, and that's gotten a lot of people interested in it. Just call our office at 614-841-7700. And if you're thinking about a career in a field related to what we do here, write to me at pampopper@msn.com. Remember, discounts and package prices we do 3 times a year, so the next opportunity, if you don't do this little window here, is going to be in December. So a long time between now and December. Now is better. All right, so write to me if you want to talk about it. Well, another question that got asked, and I just decided to write an article for our library and talk about it on today's YouTube broadcast, was prenatal vitamins. Should you take them? Should you not take them? So here is the rundown on prenatal vitamins. So these are supplements that contain vitamins and minerals, which women are advised to take, preferably according to doctors, before they get pregnant and then throughout their pregnancy as well. Women are told that taking the vitamins is necessary in order to ensure that they are healthy and that their babies are born healthy, but this can't possibly be true. And here's why I say this. During almost all of the time that humans have lived on Earth, the availability of food was unpredictable and often scarce. And so for most of human existence, dietary supplements have not been available, yet in incredibly adverse circumstances, like no food, we still somehow have managed to reproduce and have a species that survived, because that's the only reason I'm talking to you and you're watching this right now. Today in westernized countries, we don't have to worry about shortage of food, but diets are typically pretty awful. But there's no evidence that taking a vitamin supplement, pregnant or not pregnant, compensates for eating a poor diet. I mean, just take a look at what's going on here in the United States and in most westernized countries. We sell tens of billions of dollars worth of dietary supplements every year in the United States, and public health is declining, not improving as a result of it. Yet the promotion of dietary supplements, to make up for nutritional deficiencies is aggressive. It's particularly aggressive when directed at pregnant women, and it comes from their obstetricians, it comes from health agencies and organizations and the USDA, and it's all presented as, oh my gosh, you have to take this stuff or bad things are going to happen. So I went to the American Pregnancy Association's website, and here's what they say on their website. Quote, they say, first of all, micronutrient needs are higher during pregnancy, which is true, but then they say a quality prenatal vitamin is always recommended for future moms to ensure that they're supplementing with the essential nutrients needed to support a healthy pregnancy as well as a healthy baby. And then they have on the website a list of nutrients that they say should be in a prenatal vitamin. Vitamins A, B, C, and E, and D, calcium, iron, iodine, magnesium, sodium, potassium, zinc, and choline bitartrate. So the website notes, and I thought this was interesting, that the maker of a prenatal vitamin drink product is a corporate sponsor of the American Pregnancy Association. I'm sure that has nothing to do with this recommendation, right? Many other experts, including the Cleveland Clinic, recommend that not only should you be taking all of this, but it's mandatory that you take folic acid supplements and also take enough omega-3, DHA, and many other supplements too. But there really isn't much evidence that this stuff is helpful. Some research saying that it might be harmful, and a lot of evidence showing that it's probably not necessary at all. Well, the first thing in understanding and sorting out this whole thing is that physiological changes occur during pregnancy, really from the moment of conception, regardless of the nutritional status of the mother. And these types of changes include increasing the absorption of some nutrients like calcium and iron, because you need a little bit more of that when you're pregnant, and then decreasing the excretion of other nutrients like riboflavin. The body also draws on tissue stores, an adaptation used by all humans whenever necessary, including when women are pregnant. And these strategies are nature's way of ensuring that nutrient needs are met and are effective and less risky than taking supplements. So the first thing is, yes, you need more micronutrients, but you will get them from slightly increased calorie needs during pregnancy, and your body will make adjustments as needed. It's so interesting to me that the wisdom of the body, both men's and women's body, completely ignored by most of medical science, and I don't think we should do that. So in spite of this, the threat of deficiency is stressed in promoting dietary supplements to pregnant women. So let's talk about folic acid. It's a good one to use as an example, which is recommended to prevent neural tube defects such as spinal bifida. Recommended intake for pregnant women is 600 micrograms of folic acid per day. Okay, so that's folic acid. It's much better to get folate from food. And so if you were going to try to meet your folate needs on a daily basis and you're pregnant, you would, if you ate 8 spears of asparagus, a cup of Brussels sprouts, 3 cups of romaine lettuce, a banana, and a cup of kidney beans, you would have 44 micrograms more than what you need. That's not hard to do. I eat a lot more than that in a day, and if you're eating the type of diet I'm eating, so do you. It's important to note, I think, that the folate in food is really quite different than folic acid, which is a synthetic form of folate. So I'd much rather see you get it from food. Dietary folate from food is converted in the intestines into 5-methyl tetrahydrofolic acid, or 5-MTHF. And it enters the bloodstream and circulates throughout the body and acts on various tissues and that sort of thing. On the other hand, folic acid is methylated in the gut mucosa before being converted to 5-MTHF. The body has a limited capacity to convert folic acid to 5-MTHF. And unmetabolized folic acid has been found in circulation when oral intake exceeds 260 micrograms per day. So what happens is this unmethylated, unconverted form of folic acid gets into the bloodstream and it doesn't do anything for you. And so the amount of folic acid in a prenatal vitamin is enough to exceed that threshold where useless unmethylated folic acid gets into the bloodstream. It's eventually metabolized and eliminated by the liver, not used by the body. Mandatory folic acid fortification in the United States and Canada has been credited with reducing the incidence of neural tube defects by 28% in the United States and 46% in Canada. But these data are reported in relative terms rather than absolute terms, which makes the numbers sound not quite as impressive at all. The prevalence of neural tube defects, for example, fell from 1.58 per thousand births to 0.86 per thousand births, according to the Canadian data. It's a relative reduction of less than 1%. Now, any defect that you can prevent, I think, is a great idea. But the idea that women are at very high risk of delivering a baby with this type of defect and must supplement with something immediately in order to take care of it is absolutely not true, and the risk reduction is less than 1%. By the way, the mechanism of action by which folic acid prevents birth defects is unknown, and there are some concerns about risks. For example, folic acid supplementation during pregnancy has been linked to increased risk of childhood asthma. And some experts have cautioned that more research is needed about folic acid supplementation during pregnancy. You should probably know, or may already know, that many countries have not adopted folic acid in refined grain products, fortification and refined grain products and multivitamins, because they've not been convinced that it's necessary or safe. So the United States and Canada do it routinely, but not all countries do. Another concern is taking in too much folic acid with the addition of prenatal vitamins to a typical westernized diet. And I have this concern about a lot of supplements, and here's what I'm concerned about. Somebody's taking a multivitamin, they add folic acid because of thinking of having a baby or already pregnant, and then eating a lot of foods that are fortified, cereals and grains, and people eat a lot of fortified food, and the combination of all of this adds up to significantly more than what the body, since it's a synthetic form of folic acid is, significantly more than what the body can convert and actually use. So people really aren't what they eat, they're what they absorb and utilize. And that's an entirely different thing than what goes in your mouth. So the assumption that if I'm taking in a lot of this stuff, it's going to be great for me is not actually accurate. Now, there are some issues with other ingredients, too, that are in prenatal vitamins. A randomized placebo-controlled trial, including over 2,400 women, concluded that supplementations with vitamins C and E did not prevent preeclampsia in women at risk, which is sometimes what they're told it will do, but did increase the risk of low birth weight. And a case control study showed that taking multivitamins 3 months before conception was associated with a higher incidence of multiple congenital abnormalities. Amyloid plaques associated with Alzheimer's disease contain zinc, and high zinc intake causes amyloid plaques to clump together, contributing to cognitive decline. Pregnant women are told to consume 12 milligrams of zinc daily, an amount that's easily met with food. There's no sense in taking in more of it from prenatal vitamins. So here's all you have to do to meet your zinc requirements, which are a little bit higher for pregnant women. A cup of oatmeal, a cup of tofu, a cup of lentils, a cup of peas, a cup of broccoli, and a cup of corn, and you've exceeded what you need. So I think people don't really understand how easy it is to get the nutrients that you need from food. And by the way, the zinc is packaged up with thousands of other nutrients that are good for you too. The same is true of all nutrients that are in these prenatal vitamins. You can get them from food. They're better in their natural form. And we don't have any reports of risks associated with eating foods like broccoli and corn and tofu and lentils the way that we do with multivitamins, for example. And of course, I have to say something about vitamin D, which is recommended for pregnant women. Well, it's recommended for everybody right now. Newborns are told that they, well, the newborns aren't told, but their mothers are told that they need vitamin D. It's a hormone, not a vitamin, and if you want to increase your vitamin D levels, get out in the sun because your skin produces vitamin D in response to sunlight. So here's the bottom line. Women who consume a well-structured plant-based diet and get out in the sun don't need any of this stuff. And women who eat a terrible diet and don't get out in the sun don't benefit from taking this stuff. So save your money, spend it on things that count, like eating good food. And there may be exceptions to the rule. I'm talking about the general population out there, but this idea that all women who are thinking of becoming pregnant or are pregnant right now are at risk of deficiency is just absolutely a spin job by the supplement companies, the government. I mean, if you know that the government's not giving you the right information about other things, why would they be right about this? And health professionals that frankly don't always pay a lot of attention to what's published in the medical literature. All right, that's all for today. As usual, hit that subscribe button if you're not a subscriber. Pass this on to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it, and I'll be back to you on Thursday with more news.